Before we begin proper, I would like to apologize for using this automated voice for the video. As previously mentioned during my update video, COVID-19 has precluded recording properly, most notably when it comes to commentary due to people other than myself being stuck in the house when I would be using the privacy and silence to record videos. Because of that complication, I will be utilizing this technique for upcoming videos I want to throw together, but cannot properly record. It's very possible that I'll come back to these videos, and redo the commentary when the opportunity presents itself, but in the meantime I hope those watching can be understanding, and will continue to support the channel during these troubled times. There are still some standard gameplay videos upcoming that were recorded prior to the problems, and I'll try to record more in the meantime if at all possible, but in the meantime I hope you'll find some entertainment in what I'm able to produce utilizing text-to-speech software. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where today I'll be discussing Fighters Pass 2. The footage you'll be watching throughout this video are pre-recorded online matches that I enjoyed enough to save their replays, and have compiled into something pretty to watch while I'm discussing my picks for the new Fighters Pass. I'm not an elitist by any means, but nonetheless I hope you'll enjoy watching the footage while I cover my 6 hopes for the 6 new fighters. I'm aware that the first fighter has already been confirmed as being from ARMS, but I had compiled this list prior to that announcement, and so we'll be going over all 6 regardless of it being literally impossible for them all to be selected at this point. These will be in no particular order, so don't interpret their arrangement as being listed from favorite to least. With that said, let's get started. Let's get this out of the way right now. Geno. Yes, like trillions of other people, I want Geno in Smash. But why? Why do I want Geno in Smash? Well, I can't speak for anybody else when it comes to his popularity, but my reason for wanting Geno in Smash stems back to Brawl, and the inclusion of Snake and Sonic. Prior to that, Smash Bros. Was a compilation of Nintendo characters duking it out for supremacy. When Snake and Sonic joined the fray, that dynamic forever changed, allowing third-party characters to be included. This is the root of why I think Geno belongs in the game, because he's both elements of Smash's roster blended into a singular character. As a third-party character from a first-party property, he's the very embodiment of this merge of first and third-party characters that has expanded the Smash Bros. Universe into the colossal beast it is today. For that reason alone, I firmly believe he deserves to be in the roster more than any other third-party character ever could, and that without him there will forever be a gap on that bridge that connects the two sides of Smash into a singular entity. Yes, he's a Mii costume in Smash 4, and a spirit in Ultimate, and while those are both far better than nothing, it's about time he gets the respect he truly deserves, for his existence encompasses the very essence of what Smash Bros. Has become. Now for something a bit less profound, the next fighter I'd like to propose is Sparkster, hero of the Rocket Knight franchise. This is a character I've always wanted to see in Smash Bros., long before the oversaturation of sword wielders. My reasons for this are pretty simple. Not only does his cartoony design blend well with many Nintendo characters, and in turn the aesthetic of the game, but he has a jetpack. Considering the emphasis of aerial combat, and the recovery mechanics that make Smash the game it is, I believe it's a no-brainer to include a character who's naturally equipped to perform aerial acrobatics, as opposed to 99% of the cast who need to be given forced double jumps and other maneuvers they can't otherwise perform within the realities of their own games. I imagine he'd be a rather basic character, sticking to close-range combat and special moves ripped straight from his game. His up special in particular would probably be a faster, longer-ranged version of Fox's, but with weaker attack strength, and due to its shorter charge time would probably be more difficult to accurately aim in certain directions. They could also give him a special move that imbues his sword with fire for greater attack strength until he receives damage himself, and other sword or jetpack techniques. For his final smash, he could don his golden armor, and perhaps zip around in an attack pattern similar to Latios and Latias, but with higher attack strength for better launching foes. Or he could hop into a giant robot, and have something similar to Zero Suit Samus, or Bowser. Third on my list is Ukulele Pichu. I love Pokemon, it's my third favorite video game franchise, and to this day I follow the anime despite its infinite flaws. I've even been trying to get through the manga, which despite sporting significantly superior writing to the cartoon, I've had a difficult time getting into simply because I don't enjoy reading comic books very much. That said, I can never get enough of Pokemon being added to the Smash Bros. Roster, and they're yet to add one I don't main. That said, there's one problem I have with the Pokemon characters. At the end of the day, they're just Pokemon, and nothing more. You see a Pokemon, and you know exactly what to expect. Pokemon moves, and maneuvers you'd expect of them. This makes them all feel kind of generic despite all having totally unique movesets. This is why I'd love to see Ukulele Pichu included in Smash. He'd expand the representation of Pokemon in the game while also bringing something totally unique to the table. Being not only a Pokemon who doesn't fight using standard techniques, but would be the first character period to fight using music. Playing his instrument to attack foes with musical notes and shockwaves, while adding a few basic electric and physical attacks to the mix to fill in the gaps for a diverse arsenal. I know ordinary Pichu is already present, but this proposal would be far more interesting than a Pikachu clone who zips around like he just chugged a gallon of sugar. They could even add the Ranger's capture disc as his final smash, giving the player control of it to draw circles around foes to launch ensnared foes with power multiplied by the number of circles drawn within the time limit. Next, I would like to give a shout out to Goku and all the idiots out there who honestly believe a character who didn't originate in a video game belongs in Smash Bros. Smash is a celebration of video games, and to add a character like Goku or Shrek would tarnish that, and insult the very heart of the franchise. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with you people? Do you really have such disrespect for Smash Bros. That you would propose such a taint upon it? That said, my fourth choice is not so criminal, but instead a fighter who would not only complement some of Smash's primary elements, but could also be crafted into a wholly unique character built around a pre-existing combat maneuver. That being throwing, and to make a character whose focus is throws would be interesting. Perhaps giving him stronger throws than your average fighter, and even giving special moves that either perform additional throws, or have added effects when holding an opponent, or even the ability to reverse an opponent's throw instead of simply breaking free. That character is Klonoa, the titular hero of his own video game franchise that has been stagnant for years. His flapping ears would fit well into Smash, as would grabbing and throwing items and opponents mid-air for additional jumps. They could also give him weapons from Klonoa heroes to use with basic attacks, and as previously stated could have special moves that function differently when holding a foe. I love fighters who present a unique style or mechanic, and Klonoa could do this without going too overboard. Following that, we have Kain from Final Fantasy IV, a character I've wanted to see in Smash since the beginning for reasons similar to Sparkster, in that his fighting style is built around jumping much like how the fundamental mechanics of Smash Bros. Are built around that same technique. Alas, there's not much else Kain does, so they'd probably have to get a little bit creative with his moveset, but if they could make Pac-Man work then they can make anything work. Perhaps give him Dark Knight Cecil's Dark Wave attack, or a few special techniques or maneuvers using his spear. Oh, that's right. He also uses a spear. Not a sword. Everybody's so sick of swords, myself included, so what a breath of fresh air it would be to bring in a character who uses a spear, or any close-range weapon for that matter, instead of a sword. Unfortunately, I don't have much else to add to this entry. It's just one I've always wanted to see because his fighting style meshes fundamentally well into the game's design, and so would make a solid choice as a fighter with basic yet powerful attacks. And if they wanted to throw in a cheap chuckle, they could have his final smash be throwing a deadly spoon. Last, but certainly not least, we have Amaterasu, goddess of the sun and mother to us all. She's a character I'd love to see included for several reasons. For starters, I'm all for Okami getting more representation to draw more attention to the franchise in hopes that it could spark enough interest to eventually fuel another entry. The Okami series doesn't need to go overboard with sequels like Resident Evil, but it would be nice to see a new entry once every 5 to 8 years. She would also be the first full-blown quadruped in the series aside from Ivysaur, who's only part of his character, making her stand out in an interesting way both in terms of hitboxes and how she fights. Her arsenal of weapons would make for some unique attacks, and she could even be given a special that swaps between her reflector, rosary, and glaive for altering the attributes of her basic attacks, much like how they build her in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. She'd also have access to a wide variety of elemental attacks, which could have interesting application in terms of using custom characters, and her final smash could be an elemental blast of fire or lightning that temporarily imbues nearby platforms with the passive attributes of those elements seen during spirit board battles. Not to mention I'd just love to have an amiibo of her on my mantle, so there's also that, but honestly that applies heavily to most entries on this list. So there you have it. My 6 picks for Fighters Pass 2 characters. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave any thoughts in the comments, and let me know what you think of my entries, or if you have any characters you'd like to discuss from your own list. I'm all for hearing what other people have to say even if they're not of my own opinion. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.
Hey!